In this video, we're gonna go over 3 tips to help you make time to make music while keeping it simple, easy, and fun. And we're back. I hope everybody had a great summer full of a bunch of adventures. I know mine was. Went adventuring all over Canada. But with that said, I'm super excited to be back home in the studio and get ready to focus on the music. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your music plans for the rest of the year? Undoubtedly, one of the most common problems that producers, home recording artists, musicians, singer-songwriters, beat makers tell me is that they have no time to make music. And of course you have no time. We all live crazy, busy lives, especially if you're doing any of the following: reading about music, watching tutorials about making music, listening to music instead of making music, listening to one idea on loop and loop and loop, only starting new ideas but never finishing them. Oh yeah, getting distracted. All right, so it's about time that we hashed out this problem. I don't have enough time to make music. So I spend a lot of time reaching out, talking to, connecting with people, and encouraging them that yes, you can make significant progress on your music even if you only have a small amount of time every single day. And a small amount of those people actually get inspired and they take action and they start getting some results. However, the vast majority of people just tell me reasons why they can't do it. And before we dive in, I get it. I used to work a full-time job that was an hour commute there and an hour commute back. So 10-hour days, have no energy left to try and muster some encouragement, some motivation to work on music in the evenings, but being so dead tired and making little to no progress with the music. So I get where you're coming from. So this is something I definitely have to point out, is that your experience of the world is largely dependent on what you tell yourself and what you tell others. So if you come with me on this little thought experiment, and that's the case, that what we tell ourselves and what we tell others will influence our experience in our life. So if that's the case, it would be super counterproductive to allow any thoughts other than possibility inside your mind. Many of us have super busy lives, and I get it. However, we have to change our perspective about what we think is possible, because more likely than not, it is a time management, habit, and routine problem, not so much a time problem. And this is what most people are avoiding. It's very easy to say, I don't have enough time, rather than to lean in and actually look at dealing with the problem that we're facing, which is usually a result of an underlying fear. Because everybody has the same amount of time in a day, right? And we make time for the things that are important to us. So if being creative and expressing yourself and learning and growing and making music is important to you, which I know it is if you're watching this, you have to make it a priority in your life. Otherwise, you're going to be constantly living in conflict with what you actually desire, who you actually are, and what's actually important to you if you keep pushing it aside for other things in your life. The truth is, the problems that we face in terms of having enough time are largely based on false beliefs. So for example, if I tell you that you can make significant progress on your music in 10 to 15 minutes a day, how do you feel? If you don't think that you can make significant progress in that little time a day, that's a belief. If you think and you tell yourself that you don't have enough time to make music, that's a belief. If you don't think that you're able to change your habits and your routines to make enough time for your music, that's a belief. And these beliefs aren't necessarily a bad thing. They're just a result of how our brains operate. Because our brains, whether you like it or not, largely run on autopilot. So 80% of the things that you did yesterday, you're going to do today on autopilot, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And this is because our brain does everything it can to conserve energy. So that's why it creates these habits and routines and runs on autopilot so that we don't have to consciously make those decisions every single day. So this also includes uncontrollable and unconscious things, thankfully, such as your heart beating and breathing, but it also includes deeply ingrained habits. And when our brains and our physiology has a set routine of habits that we're used to, it's going to take a lot of extra energy to break or to move against the habits that you have. So it's going to get rejected from your conscious mind pretty fast. Thinking requires energy, and to think in new ways, solve new problems, deal with creative decisions are things that take momentum to get started. It's just like a rocket ship taking off. For it to get enough momentum to just get off the ground and into the sky, it takes a tremendous amount of power and energy before it starts having momentum and propels itself forward. So only at the point that you push through that initial struggle and get that point of momentum, then you can cruise on autopilot. And it's the same exact thing with making music. The creative process itself has a massive amount of difficult challenges and decisions that your brain just doesn't want to dive into. Have you ever noticed that sometimes that just the thought about making music can make you tired or make you want to veg out and watch Netflix or watch a show or play a video game? On the flip side of that, have you ever noticed that when you just sit down in the studio and you start working on something, that after 10-15 minutes, you find a second wind, you get some more energy towards what you're doing? So we need to find a way to make the time for your music every single day so that you can start building the momentum and create a daily music making practice. Once you can set that up and have it established over time, it will become an ingrained habit, and making music as part of your day will just be something you do on autopilot. All right, so I got 3 tips that I want to share with you that will help you install a daily music making practice. All right, so number 1 is something I learned from a dear friend of mine, a mentor, an amazing person called Mike Monday over at Make Music Your Life. If you've never checked them out, definitely go check out their channel on YouTube, sign up for their email list, because Mike is inspiration on demand. So a lot of his strategies and techniques have helped me on my journey install that daily music making practice, and I want to share some of them with you right now. So the central idea around this whole strategy is something that is called the splurge. And the key thing to a splurge is that you're creating something to have an opinion about later. You're removing the pressure, you're removing the judgment, you're removing the expectation towards the result of what you're doing as you're making music. All right, so you're 100% focused on speed and 0% focused on quality. And on the surface, that sounds absolutely insane. And you might be questioning yourself, like, how am I gonna make progress with my music if I don't focus on the quality? I'm glad you asked. There's a couple reasons for this. Number 1 is that our opinion about what we create constantly changes and wavers with our mood. So any quality judgment that we have on what we're making in the moment isn't trustworthy. Another huge thing that I personally gained from practicing this technique is that it removes the pressure and the judgment and those expectations that you have to perform and create something amazing, right? The only thing you're focused on is creating something to have an opinion about later. There's a lot more to learn about the splurging technique. So again, go check out Make Music Your Life's channel to get more in-depth information on that. The thing I want us to focus on about this splurging technique is something that he likes to call the minimum viable splurge. And the whole idea behind this is that you are going to pick a specific amount of time that you can commit to doing every single day. And it doesn't have to be a large amount of time. Again, we got to remove the belief that we have to put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to make progress with our music. If you only have 10 minutes a day, that's great. If you don't have 10 minutes a day, we'll talk more about that in the second tip. So 10 minutes could be a good place to start. You can decide your own time, but the key is that it's something that feels easy to do every day and would be kind of ridiculous to skip out a day on, right? It's only 10 minutes. Next, we're gonna focus on creating a habit as to when you're gonna actually do that minimum viable splurge every day. All right, so the key to this is we're going to attach it to another trigger, meaning you're gonna do it immediately after something else that you do every single day, and then you're gonna reward yourself with something afterwards. All right, so the key here is to pick something that you do every single day. So what I like to do is directly upon waking, because you wake up every single day, at least I hope so, but directly after waking, after you do all your business, you go to the washroom, you brush your teeth, I will splurge for 10 minutes. And then my reward is that I'm gonna get some coffee. This might feel completely crazy. This might feel different. This might feel off to you, but I encourage you to give it a shot. Because if you can just do that daily practice for a couple weeks, all right, every single day, after you do something, maybe it's after you get home from work, the first thing you do is do that splurge for 10 minutes, and then you reward yourself with something you like or something you usually like to do when you get home from work. All right, so the key to this is that we are trying to install that daily practice. So that's the whole idea behind this minimum viable splurge, is that it's easy. You're gonna create a bunch of music that you're going to have opinion about later. You're not going to listen to it right away. You're just going to create something, you're going to bounce it out, and then you're not going to listen to it for 3 days or even a week. That's even better. And the focus isn't on the result of what you're producing. The focus is on the process and building that daily practice. And I encourage you, give it a try, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the amount of amazing stuff that happens without you focusing on the quality. Once you listen back, you'll be mind blown. All right, so tip number 2 is to remove distractions. So whether you like it or not, we live in a completely distracted society, all right? Email, Facebook, phone, shows, video games, text messages, you name it. There's always something that's campaigning for your precious attention. And for us to make time for our music and to build a daily practice, we have to regain our ability to focus and protect our attention from all of these competing forces that want our eyeballs. So remember when I said we talk about the 10-minute thing in step 2, and now we're in step 2. So let's talk about it now. So if you're thinking that you don't have 10 to 15 minutes a day to make music, I'm going to tell you that you do. A little bit of tough love, but if you have time to scroll on your phone for 10 minutes or watch a show on Netflix or play a video game or hang out with your friends, you have enough time for 10 to 15 minutes to make music. All right, again, we make time for the things that are important to us, and I know that music is important to you. All right, so you want to focus on Toad. Turn off all distractions. So get to understand where you get distracted most of the time. I would encourage you to turn off all of your notifications on your phone, except for maybe phone numbers and emergency contact, so you don't see those stupid badges and get pinged, because all of those things just fragment your focus and destroy your attention. You might want to uninstall apps on your phone that don't do you any good, like Facebook, Instagram. If you spend all your time scrolling, it might be time to kick it to the can and focus on your music. And there might be other things that encourage you to get distracted. Maybe the same friends always invite you out. Maybe you get pulled into playing video games online. Maybe you have a routine and a habit of watching Netflix, binging Netflix when you get back from work. It might be time to look at some of those things. Another powerful thing that we can do to remove distractions, but also commit to something that we know is important for us and to build the habit of making music every single day, is to tell important people in your life that you're making this commitment for 2 reasons. Number 1 is it's going to help you stay accountable. If you tell your friends that you're making music every day, they're going to expect that you're going to make music, right? They're going to expect, oh, how's that been going? They'll ask you about it. They'll maybe ask you to listen to some of your splurges. If you have other musicians, you can maybe collaborate and stuff. But either way, it's going to add that extra accountability. The other thing is that you just want to be honest and transparent and communicate effectively with the people who are important to you, and let them know that your music is important to you and that you want to commit to making it a daily practice. And if somebody has a problem with you committing 10 to 15 minutes a day to your music, then I would question why they wouldn't want something like that for you. And number 3 is having some sort of system or framework approach for your creative efforts. And I go on and on and on about this because it's so important. Because having a creative process in place that you can follow will help you stay consistent. It will help you remember all of your ideas. It will help you stay objective on your work. It will help you move and ebb with what you feel like working on any single day. It has so many benefits. If you're interested in learning more how to build a framework and a system like this for yourself, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step process that you can go ahead and implement yourself. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can find it in the description below. So this is kind of how it works. You have a system that will help you stay consistent, and the consistency is what's going to give you the results. But one of the most important things about any system, especially when you're thinking about results, is measuring the right thing. All right, so a lot of us, as we produce music, we come up with ideas, we're shaping and refining them, we're arranging them, we're editing them, we're meandering, we're having new thoughts, and we're connecting new things. We're hyper-focused on the quality of the final result that we're getting, which I'm not saying we ignore that. However, it's not the right thing to measure, because as you make music day after day, you're going to have some days that you have amazing results, and you're going to have some days that you make some crap, and that's totally fine. But the problem is that if you rely on the measurement of the quality of what you're producing to measure your success, is that difference in quality is going to be inconsistent and something you can't necessarily control. However, what you can measure is your ability to show up if you did your daily practice and how it went afterwards, how you felt about it, what could be improved. Those kinds of things are things that you can control, and it hyper focuses us on the process instead of the result. Because if you think about it, any kind of result that we achieve with our music or want to achieve with our music will come from a process that we implement over time. So why not focus on the process and let the results naturally happen instead of going to ebbs and flows of our motivation and quality judgments about the result at any given point in time. So this is one of the keys to being consistent with a habit and staying encouraged and motivated and upbeat, is to have a metric that is actually controllable and that you can actually objectively measure. Not having enough time is just one of the many false beliefs that I hear producers, artists, musicians tell themselves about making music, but there's a ton of other false beliefs that hold us back as well. So I invite you to check out my playlist of all the mental myths around music production so we can dispel some of these false beliefs and actually get to a place where we can make music consistently and feel good about the process without being held back by our own false beliefs and wrong mental perspectives. If you got value out of this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want to stay in tune for the next Metamind music transmission, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And hey, let me know. I'm getting ready to create a bunch more content for the rest of this year. And I'd love to hear, what kind of music content would you like to see on this channel? Is there something that you're struggling with? Is there something else you'd like to learn? Or is there just something else that would be fun to see? Let me know in the comments down below. Open up the conversation. And until the next time, I will see you in the next video.